morning, y'all. Today is Saturday, September the 21st, and it's dumpling cooking day. And I'm going to show y'all how I cook my dumplings and with a twist. After I get through showing you, you'll never have to roll another dumpling. You can just cut dumplings, and I'm going to explain that in just a moment. Let me get here and get my rolling pin out and show you that it's retired. You can use that, but I don't roll dumplings. I haven't rolled dumplings in probably the last 15 years. Now I got this method of doing dumplings without having to make them from scratch from a friend from Baker, Florida, Bernice Martello. She told me one time, she says, "Oh, Earline, you don't need to roll dumplings anymore." I guess we were talking about making chicken and dumplings. And so she told me the trick to it, that she learned it from a friend. And she told me where to go to get what I needed. I'm going to show you what I'm using. Now you might think I'm completely crazy, but this is Azteca, what do you call these things, John? Tortilla wraps. And you can take these and strip them up in little dumpling size, and it really makes a good dumpling. My family loves it. Everybody else that's eating them loves it also. Okay, now what I do is, if I'm going to be cooking for a big crowd like at Christmas or Thanksgiving or Easter or some special occasion, and I'm going to be making a big pot of dumplings, I usually will buy a roasting chicken, and then I bake her in my oven with a lot of extra chicken broth in it, plus my water. And the chicken will usually, I don't know, I cook it 3 or 4 hours in the oven with a lid on it, and that helps to hold the broth in there and not let it evaporate. And the chicken will just cook all the pieces and fall off the bone, and then I take her out and I pull all the meat and skin and bones away, and I just have broth. But when I'm making a small amount like I'm going to be making today, to show you what I'm doing, is I buy chicken thighs, and I keep the thighs with the skin on them and as much yellow fat as I can, find a pack. I cooked this last night so I'd have my broth ready today, and I had 4 thighs, and I cooked those, and then before I went to bed I took them out, and then I just left my broth in the pot. And I'm going to let John come up here and show you. Now this hasn't been heated yet. That's what it looks like when it's all cold and congealed. But it has all that yellow fat on top. Now you may think, oh, you need to strain that off. Nope, that fat is where the magic works. And I'm going to heat this and get it to a good rolling boil, and then I'm going to turn it down to a simmer, and then I'll start adding my dumplings, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, y'all, my chicken broth has come to a boil, and I have turned it down to low so that it will just be a simmer when I start to put my dumplings in. But before I start putting my dumplings in, and while you want to come over and let them see what's going on, John, see how it's boiling? Now that's too much action in there for the dumplings at the moment, but for what I'm going to do now, it's going to be good. I'm going to add a can of cream of chicken soup to it, and that just helps to give it a good flavor and helps to thicken the dumplings when they are, they start to get just right. It just adds some extra to it. That's just my recipe. Now I take my wire whisk. I got water up in my, let me change. I take my whisk and just whisk this around so that cream of chicken soup kind of blends into the broth. I want everything, all the consistency the same once I start putting the dumplings in. Now, I cooked the chicken last night with salt and black pepper, so it's seasoned the way I want it to. Now, after you get close to being done, you can taste of them. I'm a taster. I have to taste my way to a good meal, and once they're where I like them, then that's where I may need to add some more salt, or I may not, just depending on what the taste is like. Now, I have got the broth simmering about where I want it to go, and so while that sits there and does that, I'm going to come over here and let me explain something about these flour tortillas. They are not found on the shelf out in the store with the regular canned goods or anything, or any of the packaged foods. They're always found in the cooling section, where butter and biscuits and eggs and all that might be found. They're not frozen, they just kept cool. So you'll always find this kind in the cooling part. So what I do is I get, for about this much broth, I get one package, and it has 10 tortillas, I guess. But if you're going to be cooking more, I usually buy a large size and then the next smallest size down, and that's just right for a big crowd. And what I do is I'm going to take this paring knife and I'm going to cut these, slice it in half like that. And you got two different parts. Now I'm going to take this, and John, you want to zoom in, you can see about what I'm doing. That's going to be little dumplings. Now you may think that's small, but these are going to absorb the moisture in there, the liquid, and they'll swell up to make just a nice sized dumpling. They won't be like your frozen dumplings that you can get in the store. They're going to be a little bit more narrow, but they're going to be so much more tasty than that. So y'all just bear with me, and you see what I'm doing here. I'm kind of letting you see from the left side, because that's where John is and that's where I need to be. See, this is about the size you need. No wider than that and no longer than that, really. This, you could even cut these in half and make them a little bit shorter, but they'll be okay. And I'm just going to keep doing this, and when I when I get them all in there, then I'm going to show you my next step. So, okay, y'all, I've got the first half of my tortilla wraps in here, and see how I've got them cut. And John, you can go down in the pot and let them see it. Now I'm going to go ahead and lay these in, and you see how the dumplings are absorbing that broth. Excuse me. Now I always take a slotted spoon, and this is really, really important. Don't ever stir a dumpling, because if you do, you're going to end up with a big gob of dough, or it'll taste okay, but because it'll have that good chicken broth in there. But you want to take your slotted spoon, and John, let them see what I'm doing. Push them down, and you can see some of the ones that I put in first are starting to swell to their size. And we're going to let those simmer. Don't cover them. Let them just sit there and simmer like that, because I've got them set on, that's just about right. We'll let those cook for just a moment, and then I'm going to start adding the second half of this stack of wraps. So I'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, y'all, my dumplings are done, except for they've cooked as much as I want them, and I'm going to let them rest about 30 minutes before we plate some and let you see the finished product. I've turned the heat off under them, and they're still bubbling a little bit. Now the last step is I put a boiled egg in my dumplings. This is just something I learned from my mama and my grandma and my mother-in-law, and all old school ladies would usually do this. Don't add more than one egg, no matter one boiled egg, no matter how many dumplings you have, because if you do that, you can get too much of a boiled egg taste to your dumplings. So see what I have done, and see that good old chicken fat that has come to the top right there. That's good. Okay, John's going to show you what the pot of dumplings look like. They've been resting about 30 minutes, and there they are. And you can see how they have absorbed the liquid and how they have increased in size. Those are ready to be eaten, and I'm going to plate some in just a few moments. And I want to remind you again, this is the kind of flour tortilla wraps that you want to use to make those dumplings. And other than cooking your chicken to get your broth, I always add some Swanson's chicken broth if needed. In this case, I didn't need it, so I hadn't even opened it. And I'm going to plate up a bowl, and then I'll show you that in just a moment. Okay, y'all, my dumplings are ready, and I've plated a bowl of them for you to see. And I'm going to dedicate this video to my grandson Paul, who is a #1 fan of Nana's dumplings. Now, if y'all like this video, then I want you to go to my page and like it and subscribe to it. And my website is earlingsdoings.com.